Going live on YouTube is so weird. Anyway, I hate all the filters here. These are not real filters. These are just like, it changes the hue or whatever. Anyway, I feel like I'm starting again from scratch. In that I got so comfortable with going live on Instagram, and then now I'm coming live on YouTube. And the YouTube live, it's like Instagram will tell you like, we're trying to tell people that you're here, and they'll call your followers whatever, but YouTube does not seem to do that. Anyway, let's get going. 1 minute here, 1 minute, 1 second, 1 second. Okay, actually, I have a story to tell that randomly hit me today. Let me just mute this. That actually just hit me today. I think I met John Ferreira before the whole so-called first time seeing him. Oh my God, the fuzzies in my hair are gonna annoy me. I think I met him before. There was a time I went to a restaurant. This was this was right when I met Daisy. So this was in 2021, sometime in 2021. And it was at this little restaurant that all these people go to, that all these cartel people, I'm gonna call them, all these drug mule criminal types go to. I didn't know at the time, it looked normal. And anyway, I went there and it was an evening and I wanted to leave, and they kept pushing like, no, you should stay, blah, 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 blah. So I ended up staying, and I was with this one girl, and that girl's usually like an a-hole most of the time. All of a sudden, she wants someone to stay with her. So she's being all God knows what. She's being polite or whatever. You know how fake people are like that. 1 minute they're nice, when everybody's there and everybody's there and everybody's nice, they're nice, and next minute there's something else and whatever. Anyway, and there was this fat guy at the table, and he was paying for everyone, and I kept staring at him, and there was something about him that was weird. There was something about him, and I couldn't put my finger on it. And I remember staring at him, and then I asked him what he does, and he didn't like that. He didn't take kindly to me asking him what he does for a living, and he wouldn't make eye contact with me. And he looked annoyed, and he grumbled under his voice, so much so that I think after that I was asking people, I'm like, is there something wrong with asking someone like what they do for a living? Because like, coming from corporate, everybody asks you that all the time, everywhere you go, like, so what do you do? What do you do? And people usually don't have a problem with saying. Anyway, I remember that night, the feeling I got in my heart, I was like, this guy's a murderer. That is exactly what my mind said. I looked at him, and it's like, you know what, I felt bad later on when I was driving home. My spirit was bothered. It was bothered after being around him. And when I was driving home, I thought to myself, you know, I hope I didn't offend him by asking him what he does for a living. But he struck something. It was something about him. He was overweight at the time. He was fat. He was still obese. He wasn't yet losing weight. But I'm telling you, I feel like I met John Ferreira before. The second time, I feel like I interacted with John Ferreira on fake pages on Twitter. There was another time on Auto Trader when I was trying to sell one of my cars. There was this weird energy. There was this very like aggressive, obsessive, I have something to prove, you can't get rid of me, you can't block me. And they had to block him at the IP address level on Auto Trader. I'm telling you, I've met this energy before. I've seen this before. I felt this before. I know I have. And it's like an unhinged energy, and either it's his energy that's unhinged, or I don't know. I don't know if it's his energy itself that's unhinged, or if it's just him. And when I say his energy, I mean that could just be like some type of entity or something, some type of spirit riding him. Because people have spirits riding them and they're in denial, but it is what it is. Anyway, I just thought I'd bring that up because I was thinking about that today. I have tonight 6 points to go over. It's always 5 or 6 points that I want to go over. So first things first, if you're being gang stalked, you are at war for your life. Whether you like it or not, you just need to kind of accept it like that. Whether it feels like you're at war yet or not, you are. You're at war for your own life. You need to learn how to fight gracefully. I don't know if it's like this. Okay, so I thought that it was just my gang stalking episode that was spiritual, and it turns out everybody else's is. One thing that I realized was kind of when they have you in this web, and I call it being in some sort of labyrinth, but when you're in this situation, everything seems like some big emergency that's not. It's not some big emergency when one thing doesn't work out. Actually, a lot of things don't work out in your regular life and you're used to it. You don't call yourself cursed for that. But there's some energy that they put over top of you that makes everything seem more than it is. So you're walking home and there's a car on, you know, sitting on the side of the road, and then there's somebody, and right as you come, that car pulls out and whatever. And now you tend to think like, oh my God, it's something with me, like it's the gang stalker, something's going on. But it's like, once these illusions break off of you, you don't care about that anymore. Like, you just see it as a car sitting on the side of the road. You just see it as somebody walking outside. You don't, you know, even when people go out of their way to do things, you just don't care anymore, because you kind of have already, and like I talked about in the last video, you've sealed all your exits, you know. So I'll talk about some sealed exits for myself. One of my sealed exits is that I'm not getting on a plane with strangers. I'm not making fast friends with people. I'm just not getting on a plane with anybody, period. So it doesn't matter what they do and how they do it. I just don't see how they're going to get the drugs in my suitcase if I'm not traveling with people, known or unknown. I don't care how many years I know them, you know. So that's a sealed exit for me. Another sealed exit for me is that, you know, I'm cautious about certain things. I'm cautious about certain relationships, certain friendships, all of the above. So it's like, once you have these kind of buffers built in place, it doesn't matter really where somebody follows you to, or if they're trying to intimidate you. It's like you can feel something wear off on you. You can feel something break off of your spirit, where things that used to feel like an emergency are no longer an emergency. And one thing for me, it's like, and I have to tell people this, you have to break away from feeling like everything that goes wrong, it was influenced by someone else. And you need to replace that mindset with everything that goes wrong is actually supposed to go wrong. I don't rush anymore. That's going to lead me to another one of the points that I'm going to be making tonight, but I don't rush anymore. You can be on the right track and have the right thing in mind, but it's just the wrong time. It's not the time for it to work. If you do it right now, it would be at risk, or you wouldn't have the infrastructure in place. You wouldn't be able to handle it. You're not settled in, etc., etc. There's so many things that need to be done before this can happen. So if it gets knocked out of your hand, it means you're not supposed to have it. It means it's not the time. You have to condition your mind where you take yourself out of being a perpetual victim, or else this is what gang stalking does. They repeat a certain action over and over and over again. Those repetitive actions train you to victimize yourself. So over time, they need less manpower. They need to have less things in place, less monitoring. You think these people really care if you're going to the grocery store, or if you're going, like, it's not about that. It's the intimidation. It's the constant fear. It's the constant adrenaline rush. It's constantly being on edge. It's never feeling relaxed, never feeling in control over your life, always feeling watched for some nefarious person. That's the conditioning that they want to put you in. So you need to retrain your brain actively. You need to retrain your brain on how you're going to get yourself accustomed to not constantly feeling like a victim. You can be in the middle of a situation, but if you do not feel like you are a victim of that situation, and if you don't feel like you're being persecuted in that situation, the situation doesn't have an effect on you. In fact, you were being gang stalked long before you know you were being gang stalked. They had to make you know that they were watching you. They had to have these funny behaviors, and they had to go out of their way and get your attention for the active gang stalking to start. Otherwise, you don't know that you're being gang stalked. You don't know that you're really being followed. No problem. You're welcome for that. You don't really know you're being followed. So you need to get yourself in a position where you're unlearning the things that you're learning. And gang stalking to me is like slavery, and I'll tell you why. And I've always deemed it like slavery. Slavery wasn't just like by accident they put it together. Like somebody had to sit there. I forget his name. People who like, and we just came out of Black History Month and I don't remember. There was a guy who sat down and put it together. And slavery was more psychological than just like the physical things that were happening. And of course, the physical things that were happening were huge. But there's a psychological aspect to what they're doing here. So these gang stalkers that they put in place to actually, abuse people and put it together, the people that they put in place don't have to be bright. One of the things that I noticed in the beginning, right from the very onset when I was being followed, is that the people following me were not bright. They weren't sophisticated and they weren't trained. It wasn't FBI agents. It wasn't special ops. It wasn't people in black suits with like the little headset. It wasn't coordinated. They fumbled around a lot. They were clunky on their feet. They weren't smart. But they are still effective even not being smart. They can hire anybody to do it because the psychology is already put in place and it's already tested and it's already proven. This is why this was put together by people who are very smart. This was put together, I dare I say, I really feel like this was put together by people in the mental health industry. Somebody who assisted in putting this together had some type of mental health degree. Don't take my word for it, because everything they do, it has an impact that is long lasting. It's like they studied human psychology and put gang stalking together. They do these things. Look at how easy it is. That it's almost like they have you as like these test monkeys that they use to like test situations on. They do these really small actions over and over and over, and over time they can pull away, and it's like the case study of all the monkeys or the chimpanzees or whatever that were in some sort of like cage, and every time one of them would try to climb to get a banana, they would hose it down. And then they kept repeating that action of hosing down the one that would try to get out or get the banana. And then eventually, as they started adding more monkeys, new monkeys to the little cage, what ended up happening was if a new monkey went up to get it, the other monkeys would beat that monkey down so that it wouldn't do it. So it became a situation where they no longer had to hose the monkeys at all. The monkeys did that themselves. They pretty much on their own were taking action against each other, and it was like a crab in the bucket type of mentality. And it came to the point where it was like no one knew why they didn't want to reach for the bananas anymore. Like none of the monkeys knew why they didn't want to reach up anymore. That's what gang stalking is. It's like a social experiment, and somebody realized like all of the actions that they take against you, none of them are illegal. And that's what really makes it such a silly situation, is none of this stuff is illegal, but yet this stuff will drive you crazy. and the whole group, a whole artificial group of people, your people in your network is most effective, gang up and pile up on you. And in the beginning, you feel like you're in some type of nightmare, in some type of movie, but this is what's happening. And this is what gives me indication that gang stalking is a lot more than maybe just a company or a group of people paying to dismantle you. Maybe they're using the method that something else put it together, and something bigger supports it, something bigger protects it, and there's like a whole bunch of, I'm gonna put my finger on it, it's coming, this idea is coming together, I'm telling you. Anyway, you're gonna feel like you're at war for your life, and you won't be wrong. They will be attacking every single thing in your life. And I've been using astrology because that is what I can use to describe different parts of your life, but I'm gonna Google it now. I'm gonna tell you guys what the 12 houses of astrology are, and then you're gonna see. I'm gonna put what are, okay, and then I'm gonna talk about the houses that they attack. I should have done this before. Maybe I'll do it in another video, but essentially each house means something. So there's like, I should know this. Hold on, here it is. Let me make it bigger. So, okay, I'll tell you guys what it is because I'm looking it up on my laptop right now. Your first house includes things like yourself, your appearance, beginnings, your body, first impressions, attitude, identity, and approach to life. The second house is money, work, income, daily routines, values, material possessions, priorities, habits, your job, and your work ethic. Your third house, the mind, thinking, communication, siblings, social activity, interests, neighbors, early education. The fourth house, your home, your roots, your family, your self-care, your emotions, your foundations, mother, children, women, and femininity. The fifth house, romance, love, affairs, play, creativity, fertility, childlike spirit, joy, self-expression, and drama. Your sixth house, your health, your fitness, your systems, analytical, nature, pets, work, habits, organization, sense of usefulness, service. Seventh house is relationships, so anything to do with contracts, marriage, business partnerships, sharing, interpersonal style. Your eighth house is merging, so joining with people, sex, intimacy, shared finances, inheritances, taxes, loans, assets, property, joint ventures, etc. Ninth house, travel, wisdom, philosophy, higher education, law and religion, cross-cultural relations, learning, and ethics. Your 10th house, career, long-term goals, structure, status, reputation, public image, masculinity, men, fathers, experts, and fame. 11th house, I bet you that house, the 10th house is ruled by Leo. I don't know off the top of my head, but it sounds like it. The 11th house is groups, friends, social awareness, humanitarianism, technology, hopes and wishes in the future. And the 12th house is endings, healing, closure, spirituality, solitude, karma, old age, afterlife, what's hidden, limiting beliefs, and subconscious. They attack all 12 houses. They attack everything. And they're doing it right from the start. They're doing it before you know that they're doing it. They're doing it. Right from the very start, they're doing it. So you have to almost look at your 12 houses and protect all of them as much as you can, in as best of a way as you can. And you need to think logically about it. And thinking logically about things, it takes time, it takes focus, and it takes pulling away from chaos. All of these things take peace to do. You cannot grow, build, and manifest things in a sense of chaos, because manifestation is like, it's like growing crops. You really need the right conditions to do this. That's why you also need a clean heart. You need a clean, organized space. You need really harmonious relationships, etc., etc. So you really need to look at your 12 houses, all 12 of the houses, sorry. And you need to look at what each one represents, and you can see in some way, shape, or form that you being gang stalked has affected it. They are really on a mission to destroy you and to destroy everything that makes you you, everything that makes you happy. So essentially, yes, you are at war. As much as you may not want to feel that way, um you really are. So this is something that you really, hold on one second, this is something that you really want to pay close attention to. um you have to look at yourself as a soldier in a sense, and I always say that, soldiers go to war prepared to die, but it's in being okay with taking losses that makes you a formidable opponent. In being okay with losing things, with taking losses. First of all, nobody goes to war without being prepared to invest in the war that you're going to. So let's look at real war. Countries, you have to invest in artillery, ammunition, soldiers, training soldiers, keeping soldiers, retaining soldiers, having contracts that are binding so that soldiers don't leave when the reality sets in, because the last thing you want to do is everybody's gung-ho, and then when it's time to leave, everybody wants to walk off and you don't have an army and you've already gone out there. They've done this long enough, so they know. So let me tell you, military contracts, for anybody who's been in the military, it's so binding for infantry soldiers especially. It is so, they pay them more, slightly more, but it is so binding for them that they can only die out of that contract. That is why it didn't surprise me to know that when people become drug mules, that it's like they have to die out of that contract. And it didn't shock me so much to the point where, I don't know, I had already heard that contracts could be that way, but it's like being in the cartels, like being in the military. It's almost like they have their own system of policing themselves. They have their own system of, and that's exactly what the gang stalkers are. For they police people, they manipulate people's lives, they control people. They do all of this covertly, and when they really have to and they have no other choice, they're gonna gang stalk you, which is what they do to drug mules all the time. That's why drug mules constantly have to complain and go to the police and do all of this stuff to try to get out of it. And a lot of the times what it seems like to me is the police don't want to do anything about it. The police don't want to get involved. It's almost like if you're in that organization, you're to yourself. You got to figure it out on your own. But if you really think about it, if you, after a certain period of time, it becomes very apparent that you're not a person who will ever give up on yourself, and you're not a person who's ever going to give up, period. People start not really wanting to engage and deal with you, because every time they deal with you, there's some sort of resistance. Every time they deal with you, it's like every time they think they're going to put you down, you don't stay down, you get up. It's like they're thinking, oh yeah, you're dead, you're done. This person, we put their business down, it's all done. Tomorrow you're like up, you're doing something else. You're getting something else together. This is who you have to be. So when I say you're at war, I don't necessarily, it feels like war in your system. You're exhausted, you're scared, you're fighting something, there's an opponent out there. But I don't want anybody to think like I'm going to have to be aggressive and physically fight people in it. No. And you got to be graceful about the way you go about doing this as well. You want to be graceful. You really don't want to be the type of person that other people can say, oh my God, what a horrible human being. And now that's what they're creating. In their small group, they come in and they create chaos and they create the drama, and you have to agree to participate in it. And as you're participating in drama with gang stalkers that have come in specifically to cause disturbances in your life, it's almost like now everybody gets to write a review on you. Everybody gets to tell their own version of some ridiculous childish story of how they asked you to pass the salt at the table and you didn't pass it, or they're the ones that bother you and bully you on the street, and they're going to tell people that you're hostile, that you took a picture and a video of them, that you're crazy, that you're this and that. So you almost have to get to the point where you're not going to allow yourself to be baited into these ridiculous, childish conflicts. It needs to be one-sided, and you need to have no part in the narrative. But you do need to protect yourself. So when you notice, and I could talk for myself, so I'm giving examples for me. When I notice that every time there's some customer that DMs me about something, they're trying to get into some type of argument, I just don't answer DMs anymore. Now everybody has to suffer. There's nothing to talk about. I've answered all the questions on the website. End of story. You like something, you click it, you get your size, you buy, we ship. End of story. There's nothing to talk about. Nothing to talk about. Don't come to my DMs for anything. I don't answer any direct messages. That just closed one door completely. Now they have to find a different way to access my energy. I don't pick up my phone. I just don't answer the phone. The phone's not on half the time. I don't care, because I move around without it anyway. So that closes another door. Don't call me, don't text me about anything. I had an influx of people messaging me Happy New Year around the 10th of January. Not the 1st, not the 2nd, not the 5th, not the 7th, the 10th. Don't message me. And you see, I don't need an out. I don't need anyone feeling as if you know, oh my, now see, I'm different. I want people to know not to contact me. I want to close the door on everyone because I don't care. But when you're in the heart of your gang stalking, you're in the heart of everything that's happening, just ignore people, ghost people, block who doesn't want to stop talking. If that's the case, I've gotten off of so many apps. I am no longer on WhatsApp. WhatsApp seemed to be an app that they loved. They follow you from app to app. So they're now on YouTube, trying to circulate around on YouTube, build trust, build relationships with me on YouTube, message me from fake accounts, etc., etc., sending me phone numbers, asking for emails, all of this stuff. I just got over here. I just got over here. They were monitoring my Instagram a lot. It's always going to be something with these people. These people are determined to do something, but if they can't take you out themselves, if they're not shooting me down in the street and they can't take me down with spell work, I guess we got to coexist here. I guess we all got to coexist, And the thing about it, and I wrote something about it in community early, they watch a lot, but they don't learn anything. They're not here to learn. They're here to see how they can they already know what kind of person you are. They know you're a good person. They know you're a nice person. They know all of that. They don't care. What they're here is to prove that the lies that they told people about you are true. They are trying to prove the lies, and you will be able to see what the lies are. If somebody said that you're a promiscuous person, they're going to keep sending men at you, and they just want at least one man to be able to say, I slept with her, and drag a story out. It's being told behind your back, so you don't even know. If they said that you're bankrupt, they want to create some type of an illusion to make it seem like you're bankrupt. In my situation, they said I didn't have money, and they got proven wrong over and over and over and over and over and over and over again, until people saw this person as a liar. Hi, good evening, Lisa. Yeah, so where am I? Point number 2, they want you to take losses. These people want you to lose everything. Everything. When I say they want you to lose everything, a homeless person doesn't have possessions. They want you to lose the bed, the couch, the TV, the children, the pets, everything. They don't want you acquiring things. They don't want you looking good. They don't want you being rested. They want you to lose everything. Now, if you are not aware of what is going on around you, if you are committed, if you're one of those people who is committed to not believing that what is going on around you is actually happening, you will lose everything, because they will systematically take it away from you, and you're going to keep thinking everything is a coincidence when everything is far from a coincidence. It's coordinated. It's coordinated. I was noticing for a long time something wasn't right with the staff that we were getting, and then I came to the point, I'm like, we're not hiring staff anymore. It didn't matter how much they were beating out on my door. Oh, we're looking for work. What the hell are you doing here looking for work? It's the smallest store in the mall. Go somewhere else. Simple. Like, and I mean, I didn't say it like that. I was just like, we're not hiring, and I walk away. But it's not, you got to shut the door. And I talked about this yesterday. You have to close all of these doors. How can you even begin to focus on what you need to do for yourself, rebuilding yourself, putting the pieces together, and you have the door open to chaos and you're dancing with the devil every night? You're calling these people your friends. You're calling these people acquaintances. You're going out with these people and you're doing all of this stuff. And it's not like you're doing this stuff from a place of trying to figure out what is going on here on a research mission. You really think these people are your friends because they smile in your face, even though they insult you and gaslight you all the time. Because gang stalkers do not come to be happy friends who bring support. Maybe in the beginning when they're looking to love bomb and create a bond. Gang stalkers come to create chaos in your life and create distrust and really mess with you. So you are not in a situation that is going to feel comfortable. The key to all of this is trusting your instincts, and when things don't feel good, you let go of them. It kind of really brings full circle what is being spoken about when people have always talked about you really need to think about how people make you feel. If you're not thinking about, if you don't trust your emotions and and the way your body's being guided around people, it's like it's not, you're going to continuously be in situations where people are close enough to you and have enough influence over you to, it's like in the Bible with Judas, where was it Judas or with Peter, where he was close enough to abuse his access so that they knew who to hang or they knew who to nail to a cross. You have these people super close to you, and these are the people that are collecting data on you, collecting information. Now they know what your next step is so they can go ahead of you and ruin it for you. You have to be extremely careful to close the door on people. Otherwise, you will lose everything. You have to really think to yourself, your life isn't over. And I say this all the time, like, this is a phase of life. It's not permanent. I can't say for certain, but if it goes on 5 years, I feel like it's 5 years max. I just, this is my gut instinct. I don't think this is something that people are going to invest resources in you for 5, 10, 20 years. For what? If you think somebody has the endurance, anybody, to gang stalk you that long and it's not working, you just have to make sure that it doesn't work. That's what you're doing. You're enduring, you're taking away the sting of it and the pressure of it, and make sure it doesn't work and make sure people see that it doesn't work. The general public is seeing, the gang stalkers are seeing, and the benefactors who are desperate for your suffering are seeing that it's not working. You're going to have to learn a new way of living, and you're going to have to carve that out for yourself, and that's going to be based on your personal situation. So you're going to be collecting as much information as possible from your personal environment, from resources on the internet, from channels like this one. You're going to be collecting information, putting together something for yourself, a way of living, a way of getting out, and you're going to apply it to your personal situation. So you're going to shorten that 5 years, hopefully to about a year. And maybe one day we'll get to a point where it's like 3 months and like right away, you know, you're being gang stalked. And there's just like a comprehensive handbook where you can do all 26 of these things and insulate yourself. And this no longer has to be trying. But we are like second generation gang stalking victims, I want to say. We're really not. This has been going on for a long time, but there are people who've gone ahead of us. And I think as people have gone ahead of us and more of us successfully make it out, we can reach back with information that we can put together that's going to help people and put people in the right frame of mind, in a positive, motivated frame of mind that is going to take their mind away from a situation where they feel at panic, where they feel in fear, to them feeling empowered, understanding what kind of threat is against them, and understanding what steps they need to put together to barricade themselves from the brunt force of it, to prepare themselves for how long it's truly going to take, and to come out as unscathed as possible. But you must prepare. There are some things you're going to lose. The first things you're going to lose for sure, it's going to be people, and it's going to be family. Now, I'm going to jump around on this point because there's something that I really need to drive home for people, and I think that people, you need to hear this, okay? Someone who truly loves you would never leave you no matter how bad things got. Real love, okay? No amount of intimidation, no amount of loss, and not even when they're being hurt or they are being compromised for loving you. Family is forever, and it's not conditional on anything. Families, it's not just this lifetime, okay? You don't just you exist in a soul cluster, okay? When your grandmother today is your grandmother, she takes care of you. She dies, and she spiritually takes care of you again in death. And then one day, your child births your grandmother back into the family tree. Now, I don't really care who wants to believe that or not. Many people talk about that. People talk about that all the time. Oh my God, my son talked about when he used to be the mom, or blah, 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 or whatever. We exist in clusters. That is what we call bloodlines. That is what we call ancestors. That is who helps us. That's why we remember them. That's why we go sit at graves. That's why we have this spiritual bond, this tie, this cord to them that cannot be broken. It cannot be broken. Family is forever. Yes, we want people to rest in peace, but family will wake back up to help you in such situations as you're in right now. This is who you call to. You call to God, but family is forever, okay? Now, families bear burdens with each other, and they agree to rough life cycles for each other. And whether or not a family member physically agrees to it, once you're born in a family, you inherit the circumstances that you're born into, and it doesn't matter. If you're born into a political family, then things like being taken for ransom, things like your car being shot out at, things like your kids being kidnapped is just part of the deal. Marrying into these families as well, they will brief you on stuff like that. Say you married into the president's family, it's the same thing. So when you're being gang stalked, to bring this point full circle, when you're being gang stalked, and you turn around and you say to someone in your family, I am being gang stalked, and you're not met with anything short of, oh my God, what can I do to help? How can I make it better? That is not family. If you are met by a friend with anything other than, oh my goodness, that sounds scary. How can I be of assistance? What do you need from me? That is not a friend. So be ready to let this fake person go. Do not sit there and deliberate with something that God is showing you is not family. If one of my kids called me at any point in time and said to me, I am being followed around, I don't know what's going on. And she doesn't sound like this is a joke. She's panicked, she is terrified, she is scared. There is no other response than, do you want to come back home, or do you want me to come get you, or what do you need? This is the end of it. Family is forever. People that laugh at you, that gaslight you, and that take you for a joke are not friends, families, acquaintances, and shouldn't be around you. Do you know how quick it is to cut them off? The same conversation. While they're talking and saying that, you're blocking a number. Mid-sentence. That's me. No goodbye. No, oh my God, I can't believe you. No revenge. Just thank you, God, for cutting it off. Because that is another leg that doesn't get to feed negativity and poison into my life. Simple as that. I've had both. I've had the people who were supportive, who were giving me a tight hug and rubbing my back and praying for me. And then I had those who gaslit and those who were the ones who would hurt you. When I realized that people were looking for, gang stalkers were looking for weak links in my social networks to use to hurt me, I did not allow anyone to ever be able to hurt me again. The minute I could love you and love you a lot, but the minute that I see that you are either bullied to participate in this, or the minute that I see that I can't really trust you, or that maybe you're being manipulated by outside forces, sayonara. You will never hear from me again. And there's something about me that people know when they're never going to hear from me again. And they know it. They just feel it. Even if I don't say anything, they just know. When I ghosted on John Ferreira, he knew for a fact that we would never talk again. If he's very honest with himself in his heart, he knew this was it. I had no interest. I was done. I was ghosting out of the situation. End of story. It was time for me to go. This is how it works. Family is forever. Family fights with you, and real family are supposed to be able to battle these type of threats together. That was the whole point of us existing in clusters, was to shield ourselves from threats. If that is your children, unfortunately, if it is children, if it is parents, if it is grandparents, whatever it is, if they are not for you, then they are against you. Because guess what? As you're going through this whole thing, God is holding your hands. You're holding your own hand. And hopefully you have one other person that can. But if you don't have a person that can hold your hand and be 100% supportive, then you shouldn't have them around at all. They're going to get you killed. It's like being in a zombie apocalypse. Everybody's getting attacked and you have one person that you're helping with a broken leg. And it's like, instead of this person even trying to help themselves, they're telling you like the zombies don't exist. Like zombies are not real. You don't need that kind of baggage. I've made it very clear, and I make it clear for myself, because you are in a position of so many illusions being created around you. You can barely tell who's real and who's fake. People need to demonstrate that they're 100% down for any kind of craziness going on, or they gotta go. And I'm not talking about new people who come around to love bomb. I'm talking about the existing people. If I told you that I'm being followed by people, and if I told you that I feel like people are monitoring me, then that's enough. That's enough for you to help me through it, help me figure it out, or at least come over and say, listen, I'm really worried about you. What's going on? A lot of people being gang stalked start realizing that they don't really have family. And the longer that you don't accept that, is the more you create situations where you keep putting yourself at risk again of losing everything. You want to start saving the things you have, saving your house, saving maybe your relationship with your partner, saving your relationship with your kids, saving yourself, your mental health. You got to close all doors, barricade all entry points that people get in to cause chaos, and control the entry and exit of your life very, very closely. Like, do not negotiate that. That takes me to another point. All of this is extremely exhausting, constantly thinking about like, what did that interaction yesterday mean? Or what does it mean that I keep seeing this same thing all over the place? Or how comes this account got hacked, or etc. It's draining. You need a minimum of 1 day off a week where you do absolutely nothing. And this was one of the harder things for me, because I'm a workaholic and I'm used to working 7 days a week, sometimes 8, 9, 10 days a week in a row, 12-hour days, because I had mall locations. My stores were in mall locations. And obviously, being gang stalked, they're sending staff to me that are not good people, or not meant to be helpful, not meant to be what staff are supposed to be, which is supposed to assist, right? So it's exhausting, and it'll deplete you, and it makes you weaker physically. Your physical health is at risk in those situations. Then it'll make you not have time to pray, always be depleted. They tend to affect your sleeping patterns, and you wake up randomly. It's like you never get enough sleep. You're always on edge, you're always anxious. You need to have 1 day where you do nothing at all. And not just a day where you do nothing at all, but where you really have you're not, it's not a thinking day. It's not a day of really like mulling over problems or anything. It's a relaxation day. Now, I'm not Christian myself, but I'll take a day and it'll almost be like a church day. And it doesn't have to be a Sunday. It could be a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, whatever. There's just random days I decide I'm just not working. I'm not doing anything. I need to relax. I need to detox. And it's funny because I was really looking at this, and then I Googled it earlier when I was putting my notes together, and this is what I found on Google. So I remember there have been spurts of time in my life. I'm going to use baking as an example. I can bake professionally. Like, I can bake all kinds of like very complex breads. So baguettes and ciabattas and, you know, like French breads and European breads and pitas and chapatis, whatever. I can bake everything. But I've gone through periods of time in life where I had enough time to bake. So during COVID, I had picked up, COVID was in 2020, and the last time I really had time to bake was 2016. 2016, yes, was the last time I had time to bake. And in 2016, I could barely bake a cake. Like, it had to be a box cake with instructions, but I wanted to bake. And I put it down for a bit just because life got involved. And when I got back in 2020, it was like all of a sudden I was just baking amazing things, honestly. And my breads, my pizzas looked like restaurant quality, taste restaurant quality. I used to give to like neighbors and all of this. Anyway, what I'm saying is every time I put something down for a bit and I got back to it, I was all of a sudden better at it. And I never put it together. So today I Googled it, and it says that rest gives you a new perspective. And rest between learning something, rest periods, it strengthens your memory consolidation. So essentially what it does is it takes the old information that you have and it consolidates the new information, like it plugs in the gaps of the old information. But this happens subconsciously without you really being the one to actively do it for yourself. Studies say your brain replays skills at a super speed during rest. And you can look more into it. And there was another thing that I was reading and I didn't end up writing it. And what it basically said is every time you learn a new skill, it almost like builds new neural pathways in your brain. And then when you rest, those neural pathways have time to connect with the existing pathways that your brain has already categorized similar information. So it's the same thing with what it's saying here, where it strengthens your memory consolidation. So essentially, if you are working and you are stressed 7 days a week, you are not giving yourself the downtime you need for all the information you collected while being gang stalked from the internet, your intuition, all of it. You're not giving it all a time to consolidate itself and to merge. The bills are going to be there, and one day is not going to make a difference. If you didn't have, it's not going to make a difference. You need to build in a day of rest, a full 24-hour period where your body knows that it doesn't need to wake up early. You are going to sleep in. You're really not going to care about what time you eat breakfast. You're not going to do too much work. You have no obligations, and you don't need to leave the house. This is not an errand day. This is a rest day, and there's a difference. Psychologically, there is a difference between your errand day and your rest day. So Saturday, let's say, is most people's errands day. So you know at some point you need to get off the bed, you need to go buy food, you need to do laundry, etc., etc. Rest day is the lazy day. We're not doing anything. We're not leaving the house. If you're going through gang stalking, you need a minimum of one rest day. A rest day is also a day you're not physically leaving the house, which means you don't have to deal with gang stalkers outside. It is a day your brain is going to crave. Please take your rest day. What will happen over time is the rest day will be the day that ideas pop into your head. The chances of ideas popping into your head while you're at work, while you're walking down the street with your brain constantly on high alert thinking people are following you, is not the day that ideas have an opportunity to manifest, and not to reach you most certainly in your conscious awake, time. You need time, you need downtime for ideas to come to you. This is why rest is important. And let me tell you something. Why do you think the work week was created? This is something that we studied in school. It was with the Industrial Revolution where they started to formalize the work day, formalize the work week, because people sitting around idly with nothing to do all day and all week are going to get hip to what is going on. If all of us sat around without working all day, we would start seeing a lot clearer through the kind of crap the government is getting away with, the kind of things these corporations are getting away with, the things, these secret societies and all that exist right in front of our face. We're going to sit there and we're going to be like, wait a minute. Why are they doing these kind of things? You know, the only people that they want to be idle like that, or they don't care if they're idle like that, it's poor people. It's people like who are on welfare, etc. They don't mind people like that being sitting around, because people who have a higher IQ, even if they are sitting on welfare, will only stay on welfare a year or two and be smart enough to break out to see that it doesn't make sense to be in that situation. They want the working class to be overworked and burdened. And this is something that we already know. I'm not the first person to say this. Very intelligent comedians have said this. Very intelligent people constantly say this, and we know this. You read books. One of my favorite books talks about this all the time. The working class, the thinking class, is the class that they do not want to realize what is going on. Gang stalking is no different. They want me to be in a position where I'm constantly at work. I'm constantly overworking. As you sit down, ideas start percolating. You start coming to certain realizations. You start having time to sit and watch videos on YouTube and get information and read blogs, and you start taking a more intellectual approach to being gang stalked, a more systematic approach, and you intelligently break yourself out of it. There is a solution to everything, and every lock has a key. If you take your time, you can find it. Why would you sit there and think that you're going to succumb to this forever? Why would you just give up like that? You're not surrounded now. If it was the men in black that were after you, the CIA and the Secret Service, these are very learned, intelligent people who are going to use a very process and extremely process-driven and tested way of getting you to self-destruct. Of course. It's my system. Anyway, you have to really think about these situations. You have to take your time. Sorry guys that this alarm is going off right now. It's not even saying anything. I don't know what this is about. It's not a fire alarm, by the way, but it's something. It's a... They usually should be able to speak through it. It's like one of those internal systems, but I don't know what it is. Hopefully you guys can hear me. Where am I? Your day's off. I'm gonna just be closer to the camera so you guys can hear me, because I'm not stopping my video. Your day's off. You want to be taking a bath? I know, you know, I didn't want to say it. Every time the information is a little too real, the cats start going crazy, the computer stops, something stops working. This is supposed to be a system that is supposed to alert you, like if something is an emergency or whatever. It's just going off for absolutely no reason. I don't care. I do not let things distract me. Anyway, on your day off, you want to take a real day off. So here's what I do on my day off, so that can help you guys on what to do. I take a bath. Some of these days, on my days off, I don't feel the need to rush into my meditation. I take it slow. I relax. I might listen to music. I might listen to a couple videos. I might do something else. I eat whenever I feel like it. I might only eat one meal for the day. I make sure it's nutritious. I take a good long bath. A good long bath. I soak in that bathtub. This is the day I'm gonna shave, if I'm gonna wax eyebrows, if I'm gonna, whatever I'm gonna do for self-care. There is one day of the week that I'm gonna do it. Randomize it. It doesn't always have to be your Saturday. It doesn't have to always be a Sunday. You're dealing with people who are always like hyper vigilant of your schedule because they always want to disrupt your peace. Randomize it in the beginning, but eventually you just get to the point where you know your body starts feeling it like, ah, it's time. It's another time for a break. If you have a job and they're on you already and they're persecuting you at your job, take a sick day every once in a while and just don't show up to work. So all those cars that are waiting outside to follow you up, it's a day off. You're not showing up. You got to be unpredictable for these people. If you spend, look at it, you are being gang stalked. Let's say you're going through a gang stalking situation right now. You're 6 months in. They've mentally trained you that you can expect a consistent pattern of difficulty when you're doing everything because they're bothering you. Now you're going to say to yourself, I'm dedicating 6 months of unpredictability that I'm going to bother them. I'm going to make it hard to hack my emails because every time I feel like someone's monitoring my emails, I'm changing the password to some 100-character, multi-character sort of thing. I'm going to make it hard to follow me because I'm not walking around with phones. I'm not doing this and I'm not doing that. I'm going to make it hard for you guys to know where I'm at. I'm going to make it hard for you to listen to my phone calls. So now in 6 months, you're exhausting. You're an exhausting person to gang stalk. If they have 5 people that they're harassing, every time they come to your name, they have to groan. They have to be like, oh my God, I'm going to pay 6 people to go on the road and this girl might just not show up. The people showed up. They got to get paid. Always remember at the top of your hierarchy of things to do. I'm going to write this down. I'm going to give you guys a hierarchy of things to do to exhaust them. I know I'm exhausting and I know that guy hates me. The person who's hold on. I'm going to call it the hierarchy of exhausting behavior. And I'm really going to put it together. The person who's gang stalking me despises me. They don't want to deal with me. They hate me. At the very top is prayer and meditation, and I do that religiously, and it calms me down.
Attention, attention. We have a trouble alarm condition in the building. The fire department has been notified. Please stand by for further instruction. Attention, attention. We have a trouble alarm condition in the building. The fire department has been notified. Please stand by for further instructions.
This is not the first time stuff like this has happened. But anyway. Are they gonna stop? Okay. Anyway. My exhausting behavior. My hierarchy of exhausting behavior. First 2, the very top, pray. These people hate when you pray. They hate when you pray because as you pray, you strengthen your defenses against all the nonsense that you're noticing that is not natural. This is why I want to do my lives on YouTube, and I'm forgetting about, like, I'm not forgetting Instagram. I'll still do Instagram, but on YouTube, gang stalk, people who are being gang stalked, we know that not everything here is normal. They're using other tactics. Something spiritual is going on. Something spiritual is going on. There's always some sort of nonsense, always conveniently happening. So this is number 1. When you pray, you're putting in defenses to that. And does it matter if you're praying to Jesus, Buddha, Allah? No. It is. Thank you so much. You should check out some of the other information. I have pinned in the Gang Stalking Survival Guide and other things like that. And I'm going to continue to put the information in a way that is like, that people can really grasp it and really like learn how to implement it in their lives. I'm really going to put in the hierarchy of exhausting behavior because if you're an exhausting person, nobody wants to deal with you. Trust. I love to be exhausting to these people. The second thing is meditation. They hated when I meditated because it calmed me down. I was not anxious about everything. A really good meditation has you at such peace. You're breathing so well that when you go out into the world, they're like, we just gang stalked this girl and put in all this effort. Like, why is she not panicking? I don't respond to triggers anymore. And this is the point that you want to get yourself to. So the meditation and the prayer, those are two. The third one is making reports. Oh my God. Remember, they do everything in such a covert way that they want to prove to you that what's going on is just coincidence and it's not all these gang stalkers around you and all these people manipulating you. Well, if that's the case and it's really a normal behavior, then I'm going to call your manager, and then I'm going to call the supervisor, and then I'm going to write a letter to the CEO, and then I'm going to write to the newspaper, and I'm going to keep going, and it's going to be a pattern that now you're so careful when you play with me because you know this bee is going to report me. Who is going to sign up at their job to harass me when I'm going to report you? Oh, my landlord is trying to get rid of us. Well, that's not legal. Let me find out with the tenant board. Oh, really? Let's go to court. Let's go to the tenant board and let's go deal with this issue. Let me complain this way. Let me get a lawyer. Let me do this. Let me do that. Let me write a review about your business with your name and attach a picture. Let me do these things. If you feel that what you're doing is right, because you're not talking about incidences where somebody was just rude to you. If somebody's just rude to you, there isn't much you can do. So all you can do is control your response to people being rude to you. So now you can say, you know what, everybody around me is gaslighting me and they're being very rude. I'm going to center myself and I'm going to make sure that I don't respond to this in a negative way. No problem. But when you've actually violated me, you've overcharged me for something, and now you're really pushing your luck, and there's an action that you've taken and something that I can prove, oh my God, do I start reporting? And believe me, I had a claim to make with an insurance advisor. I got supervisors involved. I got all kinds of people involved just so they could start my paperwork for my claim work. It is insane. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Actually, I don't even have a good filter. This isn't even a real filter. Like, I like the YouTube filters, but it is what it is. This is what I look like, so it is what it is. But you guys, I'm gonna put together and I'm gonna post it maybe in my community section. I'm gonna use my community section for maybe putting like maybe nice pieces or just one or two pagers of information that is just easy to manage instead of just the YouTube with like a long video. I'm at now an hour and 2 minutes and some. I'm gonna not keep it a little bit short, but I want to give you guys as much as I truly can. The last thing that I'm gonna say, healing is not complete without forgiveness. So this is more of something that you're going to have to face when the pressure is done. I don't know if this is good news or bad news, but I'm going to tell you the reality of healing after you've been through gang stalking. You're right now being actively gang stalked like I was, and you're saying to yourself, the minute this is over, I'm going to like lay on my bed and I'm going to breathe in fresh air. I'm going to be so grateful. I just want it to stop, etc., etc. This is what you're thinking. Yes, that happens. That happens. But you also sit there and you have to heal by forgiving the people who've done this to you. This is a huge injustice. This is so terrible. And it's very hurtful because a lot of it happened with people that you knew. It wasn't all strangers. A lot of it was people that you knew. And it was people that you were very good to, people that you were loving to, people that you were helpful to, and you didn't deserve it. And so what ends up happening now is I'm in a situation where I know that my healing is not going to be complete unless I forgive these people. I didn't want to forgive these people so bad that I ended up crying on live. The one live that I had where I had a whole ton of people, I mean, I had 12 or 13 people in my live at that time on Instagram. I ended up breaking down, crying, talking about this because I really don't want to I'll be honest, it's like, I'll tell you where I am now and where I used to be with it. I was extremely resentful and I wasn't ready yet. And I realized that I didn't know what forgiveness was because I usually would hold grudges and then I would forget about the grudge.
Attention, attention. The fire department has determined that this is a false alarm. There is no emergency and the fire alarm system is being reset back to normal condition. Attention, attention. The fire department has determined that this is a fire alarm and there is no emergency and the fire alarm system is being reset to normal condition.
Like, what's new? What's new? Anyway, this is where I was with healing. I didn't want to heal. You know, I released two people. There are two people, two main people that I was really upset with. One was the chief gang stalker, the John Ferreira guy, who I know who he is. Because it was like, there's no reason. This guy's just in a war with me, and I couldn't understand at the time that he had taken money from the cartel and his life was on the line. In this guy's mind, he thinks that he was doing me a service by not going very hard on me in the beginning. He thinks that. But that is because he has issues with boundaries and understanding that you cannot control other people. And I was standing my ground to him, and nobody stood their ground to him. Nobody stands their ground to him. Everybody's afraid of him. The position that I guess he holds in society, being connected to the cartel and being almost like, like their muscle. Sorry. If you look at the mob, something like the mob, it exists in one little area. The cartel is global. So they're everywhere. And they're in high places to low places. They're everywhere. They're in every institution. They're everywhere. They're all over. They're even hard to keep track of. So people never wanted to mess with him. And I just didn't have the same respect for him that everybody else did. And I just decided I wasn't going to deal with it. I just wasn't going to deal with him, and I wasn't going to deal with it. And then he started getting very upset at that. I had to figure out the forgiveness part on that one. And then I had to forgive my dad, my dad is supposed to be my best friend in the world. How could you let me tell you, during COVID, when everything was slow, if I made like a little bit of money, I would just go to Western Union and send it to my dad and not tell him until I sent it, and then call him and be like, hey, by the way, I sent you some money. And he'd be like, oh my God, that's so nice. Thank you so much. And he'd be uncomfortable. He's like, I'm the parent. I'm supposed to be helping you. And I'm like, no, it doesn't matter. If I'm making money right now, I don't care. It's okay. Like, it's just, do something with it. I just couldn't believe that he would take any money I'm like, if he needs money, he can ask if he needed something. So I had to learn to forgive. And like I said, in the past, I wasn't forgiving people. I was icing people out. I was holding my grudges to my chest because I knew that it hurt people, that I wouldn't forgive them. It bothered them that I wouldn't forgive them because I'm such a loving person in general. Everybody loves me in my city. Like, if they say they don't, they're lying. Like, no one should have an issue with me whatsoever. And I'm not just saying that. Very generous person, very giving, always want to help someone. Very kind, was people pleasing to some degree, always trying to make people feel better about themselves. And then I got to the point where I was just like, enough is enough. And I had to learn what it was. And I knew that me being so kind to everybody, the one person that I wouldn't forgive or had a grudge with, that it would really bother them. So I would just kind of hold the grudge, not talk to them. I don't take revenge. I don't need any of that, but I just don't want to know you. I want nothing to do with you. And I just left it as it was. And then I realized I didn't know what forgiveness was. So I had to Google it. I kid you not. He never asked for forgiveness, but I could tell that he was guilty, and I knew that he was guilty. And I could see on his face that he couldn't live with himself, and he didn't quite know what to say to me at times. He just like if we were on like a video call, he wouldn't really know like what to say, and he always looked like he was on the verge of tears and stuff. And I was just like, I just let it go because I couldn't believe it. It's just such a betrayal. And then I had to Google forgiveness in order to help me figure out what forgiveness was. This sounds silly, but so forgiveness is releasing anger or resentment for who or what hurt you. It can't be rushed, but it must be considered. And what not forgiving does is it gives you triggers that are left over towards the situation that is harassing you or that is bugging you. And I realized that's when I realized I absolutely have to forgive the situation or release the anger. I have spent, listen to this nonsense. I broke myself free, in my opinion, officially broke myself free of gang stalking late October of 2023. So my gang stalking started in July of 2022 until October of 2023. I should get a headstone with those dates. That was the official, like, actual gang stalking. Were they researching me before? Yes. Were they trailing me before? Yes. But those were my official gang stalking dates. October is when I officially broke myself free. Did it mean that there were not remnants? Did it mean that they were not, listen, do you know what they had to do when they couldn't find me? They would just be everywhere. They would have someone standing outside of the building. They would have somebody standing over here, somebody roaming the mall, somebody doing this, somebody doing that, driving up and down. The construction workers would be kind of like looking out the, like, you could tell like they were looking for my car or something. Like, it would be stuff like that they had to do because they couldn't actively like track me. So it was terrible for them anyway. They were panicked. They lost control of the situation. I enjoyed November. I enjoyed December. We were in the house for Christmas. January, I was getting settled in, and I spent the bulk of February being triggered with anger. And even when I started making my videos, which I started making videos around like November 26th, so like a couple weeks into being in the house, it's like I kept seeing things everywhere that, like, you survived something, you got out of something, there are other people stuck in this, you need to show them how to do it, tell them what you went through, people can really use the information. And it was so fresh for me at the time. I really felt a responsibility to do so, because I was like, bruh, this is way too hard to gatekeep information. It is way too tough to think you can't sell gang stalking information. It needs to be at public libraries. It needs to be a pamphlet in the church. It needs to be at airport washrooms. It needs to be freaking everywhere. We need to educate the world. It needs to be completely known. These are early days, but I promise you we can get it done. And I always say, each one teach one. We need to dismantle this system. It's not enough to survive it and to go on. We need to make pamphlets and drop it in the subway stations. We need to do this kind of shit. This is where I'm going with it. I better be on YouTube, because they're going to start thinking of getting rid of me, because it shouldn't exist. It shouldn't exist at all. I realized I spent time in the house and I'm always upset and I'm always triggered, and I realized to myself, you broke free, but they kind of still have a hold on you if you're always triggered and if you're always upset about it. If you can't laugh at it, if you've learned how to not be distracted, if you've learned all this vital information and you're still triggered, then the person who hurt you has essentially still left a mark on you, and your healing is not done until you start letting this go. And then I went to bed one night and I was praying about it, and I was like, I need to get back to my old self. I need to get back to my happy-go-lucky self. And I know it's going to take a while, and that's fine. But eventually I need to come to it full circle. I need to come full circle to it. Oh, my page just shut down by itself. I need to come full circle where I finally just let all of this stuff go. Guys, the page that I was on YouTube just shut down. This guy is so pissed off. It's like they don't want you to heal. It's like he doesn't want me to forgive him. Well, that's too bad, because I'm gonna do it. Now that I had like all these distractions, it's like, yeah, now I'm gonna have to forgive this, because I don't want this over my head anymore. And since I made that decision to just like let this thing go, forgive this thing, um just let it be what it is. I've just felt so much better, to be honest with you. I have days that are just easier to tolerate. um I just have, and it's gonna be really difficult. The one thing that I can say about the forgiveness thing is, like, don't push yourself. Don't come out month one and think you're gonna forgive. These people try to kill you and take everything away from you. You don't have to forgive anyone right away. In time, you will take your time and you'll get there. But you have to know that forgiveness is one of the things that you have to do. And the reason you have to forgive is because you're going to need to be able to trust one day. You're going to need to be able to, if you're not married right now, you're going to have a partner one day. You're going to have a spouse one day. You're going to have to make friends again. You're going to have to connect with people. And you cannot do that if you're holding on to this thought that somebody could turn on you in this horrible way and that you have these triggers and whatever. It's crazy. No, listen, Raven, you cannot sit in it for 10 years. You got to close the doors. Close the doors. Go through my videos and watch any video that's titled anything like Ending the Cycle or your survival guide. You got to close the door on these people. Do not, even if they're going to do it, you're going to have to teach yourself how to no longer participate in it. Do not, and don't worry about moving away. Don't worry about changing jobs. You got to change all your behaviors first. You got to learn how to live first. You got to make it end where you are first, and then you can move. If you don't know how to strategically make things end, and another thing I want to tell you guys is just a helpful tip. It's easier to gang stalk you in a house than it is in a building. Because in a building, the only thing they could do is camp outside the building. They can't, it's more difficult to tell if you're home. It's more difficult to tell when you're leaving. There are too many different exits. It's harder. The other thing is they go through your garbage. The other thing is your building. If it's a nice building where there's a concierge or security, it's like, you know, they can't just buzz into the building unless they know other people that live there. And it's just like, it's a harder thing. You can't just stand in the hallway of a building and try to intimidate someone. You'll be standing out there all day like a fool. But when it's a house, you could just sit in your car across the street with your engine on every day at 6 p.m. and just watch this person, intimidate them. Or you could know this person's routine and stuff like that. So I just found, even with people that I've Googled on the internet, or that I've Googled on the internet previously, people just always were living in buildings and it was always easier than them living in a house. Be careful and be mindful of that. That's just something that I've noticed myself. I'm gonna leave it here for the informative part of my live. For new people watching, every time I do my lives, I am a huge crystal lover. I use crystals for energy work and healing. Everything from menstrual cycle cramps, making sure you go to sleep and you stay asleep. Whenever you're feeling like you're being attacked, I know a lot of targeted individuals call this energy work. I use crystals in order to block that stuff. One of my favorite ones, obsidian. This is a huge obsidian tower. Obsidian is a very powerful crystal. They wonder why a lot of their work doesn't work, and that's because I have this obsidian with me almost all the time, and it's always on me. Whenever I start feeling work being sent at me, I just sit it on my skin, and because this one is so huge, it's almost like a huge force field all over you. You'll stop feeling it. Whatever it is that was bothering you, if it was hurting you, if you were feeling like someone poking you with a pin, whatever it is, it stops almost immediately. Obsidian works very quickly. So what I do is I pull a card from my crystal deck every day and I just read it, whatever comes out. Some of the same stuff comes out over and over. Probably because those are the things that maybe, you know, somebody needs to hear. This one I feel like is one that always comes out, but I'm going to read it anyway. Tiger's Eye. So tiger's eye is a crystal for depression and low self-esteem. The vibration is medium and it's for the mind. Tiger's Eye alleviates depression and lifts dark moods. It gently heals issues of self-worth, self-criticism, and blocked creativity, and supports an obsessive or fearful personality to make changes. We all know that's how you become after you're gang stalked. You definitely become depressed, obsessive, fearful, hypervigilant, etc., etc. Tiger's Eye instills trust in the future, showing how to set realistic goals. It assists in decision making and promotes clarity of intention. This protective stone deflects negative energy and protects against ill wishes and bullying. So get you a tiger's eye. We always used to have tiger's eye. I have a bunch of it actually, beads that broke. And I'll explain that in a second. It also teaches integrity and the correct use of power. On the body, it affects the eyes, the digestive system, the throat, and the bones. And in the spirit, it enhances psychic abilities, stimulates the rise of Kundalini energy. Kundalini energy is like energy you would use for, it's like your life source energy. It's like that's what people want to drain from you. When you feel too drained to get up and go work and too drained to do anything, it's like that's the energy people want to drain from you. So Tiger's Eye helps with boosting that. And this is what the stone looks like. You do not need to break the bank for stones. You can look for bracelets on Alibaba, on AliExpress, on any of these sites, and it'll cost you $2 to $3 per bracelet. In the real world, I used to pay $25, $20, $28, $32, $65 for stones and beads. Do not pay more than $5. And if you're buying in the US, well, I'm telling you, quoting you guys prices in Canadian. If you're buying in the US, it's even like, it's way, you're looking like $1 or $2. So you can really go on. You can Google stones that would be good for whatever you are dealing with. I promise you. It costs you next to nothing, and you know, you just wear it. And do I feel like it makes a difference? Absolutely. For me, within 24 hours of me wearing a new crystal. So I'll tell you guys what. This crystal right here, this one right here, this one is a crystal. I'm going to actually read this card to you so I can show you. When I was shuffling the crystal deck for myself privately, this card came up and I read it, and like with me, whenever I shuffle and I get a card, I'll just buy the crystal whether I truly believe that I need it or not. And I didn't really think that I needed this crystal at all. But then it became apparent to me that I kind of do need this crystal. So let me read it to you. It's called Crystal Phrase, and it's like a bluish crystal like that. And it's this one that I just recently got. Okay. This is a crystal for a compassionate heart. It's an earthy vibration. Listen to this. Crystal phase draws out talents and stimulates creativity, bringing openness to new situations. It promotes hope and helps you gain personal insights. When I first came out of being gang stalked, my hope was a little bit shaken. It wasn't gone. It was a little bit, I was just always expecting that there was going to be some sort of hurdle in my way with everything I tried, and it made me almost want to be less likely to try things because I always felt as if like somebody's gonna do something to like mess up my plans, and I had to learn how to get over it. On top of this, overcoming compulsive or impulsive thoughts and actions, this stone turns your attention to positive events. It opposes judgmentalism, stimulates acceptance of yourself and others, and assists forgiveness and compassion. Hold the stone to prevent speaking out unthinkingly in anger. I used to snap in my videos all the time. I was very angry. I was very angry. There might be a little bit of anger left, but nowhere near as bad as it was. I would lash out. It was bad. Healing codependence, Crystal Phase supports independence while encouraging commitment. It reviews egotistical motives and the effect on personal development, aligning ideals with behavior. On the body, it helps with the eyes, the skin, the heart, the thyroid, hormonal balance, and digestive system. And in the spirit, it induces deep meditative states and helps you to feel part of the divine whole. My issue was with anger. And my issue was with like snapping every time I would remember. And the reason why I would snap is because I had a very successful business. I had 2 stores in 2 malls in my city. I had a very big house, and my life was settled, and I was in a very good relationship that was leading towards marriage. Right before, I knew it was leading towards a proposal of some sort. I knew he was considering it. We randomly broke up. They started working on my business. They slapped my locations out of my hands, and I had to sell my house. I just sold my house. Not fun. Angry, yes, very angry, for sure. But I have come to a point with the whole loss where I've come to terms with it. In this, I've accepted it. So I accepted the loss of everything, but I was still upset at it. It was like, now you're asking me to forgive the person who did this, somebody who was married and didn't want to be married, didn't even appreciate it, somebody who is not even just cheating on their wife with random hookers, but with like the same sex. And it's just like things like that, where it's like, if this person had blessings, they didn't even care about it, and here they are trying to destroy my life. But I've had to, I guess, and I could say this is very new, within the past week, I've had to let it go. And for me, since I got my crystals, I just feel a lot better, and it feels a lot easier for me to accept the situation as it is and just move forward with it. And I know that better is coming, and I know that God has the ability to give you better blessings than the ones that you've lost. And I just hold faith to that. And it's definitely something that, you know, I feel like people have to think about. And before I go, I always read these spirit oracle cards, which I believe are a message from spirit. And these cards have helped me feel better throughout my time. And I swear I always get a card that is just bang on to whatever it is I'm going through at the time. Whether or not it's me not believing in my new beginning, because I had a phase where it wasn't that I didn't believe the gang stalking was done. I could see that that had dramatically reduced. It was just that, what's the word I want to look for? I wasn't trusting to make the first steps, because I felt like everything that I would do, someone would bother me, or someone would, it's like I'm doing my videos and you're hearing this go off and it's a false alarm. You know what I mean? And you just have to laugh, because it's like, you're so used to this crap. You're so used to it. If you told someone, they'd be like, oh, it's a coincidence. Maybe not. I don't know. See, it always comes out with what I need to hear. So listen to this. If you're noticing changes within yourself, is because you're leaving the old version of yourself behind. You are elevating and shedding unnecessary layers. Old cycles are ending and new beginnings are on the horizon. You deserve this new chapter. This is why I read spirit oracle cards, because every card that comes out, and this is exactly in line with everything that I was speaking about today, a lot of these videos, and you guys will get to the point where you guys will be making your own videos at some point too, and you should, because you should be helping people if you've learned to escape. Once you get to this point of sharing your information, it's going to be therapeutic for you as well. You get to replay situations, and there's some things that you're going to see that you could have done better, and you give people a better version of what you did. So it really is more therapeutic. It's therapeutic for me too to get on live and talk to other people about it. When there are questions you need assistance with, go inward. Sit with yourself, meditate on the question, ask for our help also. Then trust your intuition, as most often the answer and guidance will be delivered to you intuitively. We are with you always. The last message I'm going to leave to you is the truth. You don't need to be psychic, a tarot reader, or anything to get through this. Your intuition will walk you through. That is the voice of your inner guidance. Listen, human psychology is something that they keep studying because it is fascinating. I promise you. In the same way that you sit back and you rest, you're in a grueling situation that is teaching you a lot of things. Whether you believe it or not, you are stressed out, but a lot of new neural pathways have been created in your brain just from being gang stalked, because you now see a version of life that other people do not see. Other people cannot see people following them around, recording their information, etc. But you see it, you know, you see the manipulation. That's why I ask you to give yourself rest. And in the same way, giving yourself rest merges all the ideas together so that everything comes together and works together. It is in the same way that you need to take time and take your rest day and say to yourself, when I'm going to, on your rest day, you're doing nothing, and all of a sudden you're going to be laying there and it's going to hit you like, whoa, all I had to do was get a new phone. And that would end a lot of things. Whoa, all I had to do was do this. All I had to do was do that. All of the most important solutions are the most simple ones. I kick myself all the time. All of the solutions are the simplest ones. Turn off the data on the cell phone or turn the cell phone off. Wow. It didn't involve any money at all. I leave my cell phone home. These people have a hard time with following me or with figuring out where I'm going. Insane. That easy. Done. That is how the ideas hit you. That's how all my ideas hit me in my rest phases. And you will get explanation of what's going on around you. You'll get ideas of what's going on around you. But what is going to be more impactful than me or than anybody else is your intuition. Your intuition is going to say, this person who approached me today, something was odd about them. Or, you know what? I don't feel anything weird about this person. I think I can trust them. It's going to show you what's real from what's not. But you need to give yourself that space, and you need to give yourself time for you to digest the information, for things to come full circle for you. So with that being the case, I think my video's gone on too long. It's shorter than yesterday. We're going to try to get it to an hour. Please like and comment and subscribe if you haven't already. I do appreciate it. Not just to, you know, as my channel grows, but also, you know, if you see my channel, you know someone who might need the information as well, tag them, you know, send them a link, etc., etc. Thank you guys for watching, and any other questions you have, I would love to answer them in the comment section. Have a good night.